Hey, hey there, we're back with Book of 25, a writing workbook featuring a lexical approach to English language development with an appreciation for language drift. Today we're going to explore, in chapter 18, I did my thesis on Hangul harmonics, where I took Korean and I was able to measure it through Hebrew, and to pose a question, to posit a reality that Korean and Hebrew shared a relationship that was extraordinary in its ability to essentially be based on phonetics and from harmonies within linguistic harmonics, meaning that it was both languages share a common element, and they were also derived to be essentially, I'm not sure you can see how clear you can see there, essentially to be through its pronunciation of the anatomical features of the tongue placement, quite stunning in its originality for both, although they're separated by about 6,000 years. But this is early to late Korean. This is early Korean being measured to late Hebrew. So, where it's a feat of understanding. So here we go with what the book looks like as usual, the chapter, and gets into all sorts of very interesting structures and details that will come up in investigating how harmonics work within languages. To share some of this material, we should go to one of the most incredible architects of linguistic harmonics, before it was even called that, would be Leonard Bernstein. And he did some amazing work to help begin the understanding. So let's just take a look and see if I can bring up Leonard in his tour de force of ability. And though I have put together a slideshow of all sorts of incredible information, I'm moving stuff around on screens to bring this up to date. So anyway, what I could do is I can segue between this particular feature here, which explains why Korean is so popular first.
So many scholars admire the Hangul alphabet. The reason lies with the logical structure of the consonants and vowels of Hangul.
Watch this.
When Hangul was first invented, it consisted of 28 characters, but 4 of the letters were later eliminated. And today, the Hangul alphabet system includes a total of 24 letters, with 14 consonants and 10 vowels. The 14 consonants are derived from 5 primary consonants.
Fantastic. Just watch all this happening, because it'll explain a very integral process to why the languages are actually related. Are they cognates? Are they false cognates? Well, they probably are both. And if they are false cognates more than they are cognates, it means that they are more interrelated. Watch this. See this? This is a relationship between Korean and Hebrew.
Siok is a side view of the teeth, and Eon is an outline of the throat.
So this explains in Korean what we need to know, and it's extraordinary in its let's just go back for a second.
Contact with each other. Siok is a side view of the back of the tongue. Neon is the tip of the tongue raised toward the gum ridge.
Exactly this precise phenomena took place in the development of Hebrew. Now, this is 14th century Korea, which is like so far apart from anything that we know today. And this information would have been very rare, except the creator of Hangul.
Hangul is based on the laws of nature. The curvature of the sky is represented.
I'm letting you listen to this because it's really fascinating.
The Earth is depicted as a horizontal line.
Okay, watch this.
While the figure of a person standing is represented with a vertical line.
Exactly.
The 10 Hangul vowels are drawn through the specific placement of these 3 lines. Historically, it took 3,000 years for humans to discover the entire vowel system, while it took King Sejong merely 30 years.
King Sejong, exactly. I was waiting for a segue.
All 10 vowels.
Fascinating man.
But the fact that Hangul was invented by King Sejong was unearthed by scholars 500 years after its invention.
Exactly. After many of these things, which you're going to find out in discussing this, is the length of time it has taken for modern day man to actually understand the phenomena. Harmonic linguistics isn't really studied very much, simply because it took all this time for computers to get up to date, and to rearrange the letters into this creation is what essentially came about. Anyway, I have Bernstein waiting for us on this end here, so let's listen to him what he says to say.
Summaries, conclusions to be drawn, the present musical moment to be generalized upon, and the future to be guessed at. All of this is clearly impossible to achieve in the 5 minutes I've allotted myself for this farewell address. So I must take a short cut. Let me condense my feelings into a sort of credo. I believe that a great new era of eclecticism is at hand. Eclecticism in the highest sense. And I believe it has been made possible by the rediscovery, the re-acceptance of tonality, that universal earth out of which such diversity can spring.
As we have seen in the earlier video, the earth was a primary factor in how the language is created. And why languages are interrelated is because human beings basically have a distinct atomical structure that is so defined regardless of our modern day man. I mean, how far back do we need to go for modern day man? So therefore the languages that were created during this time frame are related to this phenomena, that it is man that is speaking these languages. So therefore they have to have a common element, a root. Okay, so let's move on to some more of this incredible stuff. I mean, depending on how, but listen to what this guy talks about with Hebrew, and it's very fascinating. And now, of course, what I found with this element of it's all hidden or considered secret, or we're dealing with things that we know to a certain degree, but even Bernstein talks about interdisciplinary research. So this one deals with prophecies and connections and yada yada yada, but it really talks about...
It's Friday in Israel,
watch
the
this.
eve of the Jewish Sabbath. I'm in the marketplace, in the Hebrew, the shuk. People are hurrying to buy their goods so they can prepare the Sabbath meal, and a hush will come over the land of Israel. But all around me here, represented are more than 155 nations. But here, speaking the common language of Israel, Hebrew, the language spoken by the Hebrew prophets, by the apostles, by Jesus himself.
Jesus.
Here, spoken here. Why is this language so special, and why has it been revived after nearly 2,000 years
Exactly.
of silence?
2,000 years, and it is being revived. Korean, it took 500 years, because, well, I mean, one is so ancient.
Modern Israel is a vibrant nation consisting of people from nearly every nation on earth.
So, okay, let's review this for a second. We can move on to, there's a lot of material to cover. Now, let's take a look at the alphabet, because that actually helps us to understand why there's some relationships.
JEWFAQ.org. Today we're going to do a quick overview of the Hebrew alphabet. Just the names of each letter and how the letter is pronounced. If you'd like to try to read Hebrew, Remember that Hebrew is written from right to left, not left to right as English is. Let's get started. Aleph, which is silent, or some would say, makes the sound before the A in apple. Aleph. Bet, which is pronounced B as in boy, or V as in victory. Native speakers know which way to pronounce it, just as we know how to pronounce the C's in circus. But in texts written for non-natives, like Hebrew English prayer books or Bibles, you'll find a dot inside the bet when it's pronounced B, and no dot when it's pronounced V. This dot is not found in text.
Phonetics, and we, you just saw in the Korean where the circle, the dot, came from the earth itself. So this is a fantastic segue into, again, you got to be a bit of a nerd to follow this, but it's fun in that, if you've lived amongst the people of the world like I did, and you came across this, you begin to see interrelationships, and that people were actually developing language and communication for a very long time. And when you are teaching language like English per se to the Arabic people, or to the Koreans, or to the Japanese, or the Chinese, who all have bidirectional languages, the interesting thing here is that they all can learn to understand each other if you just allow it. Your brain is developed. All human brains have the seat of language and can actually develop translation, interpretational skills, the ability to understand very clearly what is being said, even if you have not studied the language itself. So, by paying attention, folks. Okay, so this is what is up for grabs when Hebrew is being discussed, because it is showing how the sound waves are being formed. Okay, here is below a Korean version, like we saw earlier, where the hard G, and that is the shape of the tongue, and that translates directly into the characters, okay, to found wood. Anyway, these are the vowels, and then we have vowels and consonants in the 24 letters of the Korean alphabet. And this is where it gets, when you are looking at the Hebrew, it is not going to be, or Korean, it's not going to necessarily be standardized per se. The characters are there, but the characters are going to show when they are tilted, superimposed upside down, and that's the spatial alignment of the characters. For instance, I actually found something in Hebrew that I love because simply I could see the Korean characters in it, even though it comes from the Kabbalah and it's very ancient Hebrew. That is on my arm. I had to tattoo it on. It's I don't know the meaning, and most people can't read it, but it actually has characters that show you a literal demonstration of how the languages are created. But here we go. Now, if we look at this, it's under the late Hebrew that these characters begin to form basically like a Korean element, and this is based upon the structure of the tongue, and like I said, it's I would love to have a facial recognition program designed for languages and taking it apart and restructuring it. But this is a fantastic table here for ancient Semitic Hebrew to modern Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Fabulous. Fabulosity, man. Okay. A comparative table of ancient alphabets. Anyway, this is what I was, when you're flying between Japan and Korea and, say, Doha to, Kuwait to Dubai, you're getting a fast forward, a reset of many languages, and between the Arabic and the Korean and the Japanese and the Hebrew, I came across a lot of similarity, and I was actually interjecting during native speakers of Arabic, etc., and telling them my opinion based upon what I was hearing. It's not that I spoke the language, but I could certainly understand. And this is where I began to realize that harmonics were in play. And I came up with this thesis, the thesis that I actually used quite a lot to help determine my the course of my life. So let's go back to some of the pieces that I have here. Bernstein is fabulous for his ability to communicate.
No matter how serial or stochastic or otherwise intellectualized music may be, it can always qualify as poetry as long as it is rooted in earth.
See?
I also believe, along with Keats, that the poetry of earth is never dead, as long as spring succeeds winter and man is there.
The poetry of earth is never dead. Okay? That's an incredible reality that we are faced with. Now, this is why this phenomena that I have come across
발성 기관이었다가 모방해서 이렇게 연관성을 쥐어 나타낸 것이 언어사적으로도 정말 누레가 없는 일이라고 할 수가 있습니다.
See, watch this again.
Hangul is based on the laws of nature. The curvature of the sky is represented as a round dot in Hangul.
The round dot, the
The
sky.
earth is depicted as a horizontal line, while the figure of a person standing is represented with a vertical line.
So, once again, it's a book of 25, over and out. It features a lexical approach to English language development. And that's my cue. Bye-bye.